Mind Your Farm Business on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by RBC Royal Bank.
Welcome to the Mind Your Farm Business podcast brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. I'm Shaun Haney, founder of RealAgriculture.com and host of Real Ag Radio on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. You can find more episodes of this podcast by going to MindYourFarmBusiness.com. Today's topic on the Mind Your Farm Business podcast is all about time management. When you think about it, time should be easy to manage. It moves at the same pace every day. Time is relatively easy to predict. You know when it's going to be 6 o'clock. And there are countless books to help you out to improve your ability to manage and account for it against priorities. The reality is that this is one of the most difficult things as a leader will ever have to manage. Managing time requires skills, a process, and commitment. Personally, I have to work on time management daily. It's easy to get lost doing things you love and ignore the things that you have to get done to be an effective leader leading your organization. Being able to juggle all of this is definitely something that many farmers struggle to be better at. The good news is that you are not alone. Today's guest is Chris Croft. He's a speaker, trainer, and author on issues facing leaders like time management. Let's dive in and learn from Chris Croft together. Chris, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on this show, Shaun. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you. So this is a really, really important topic. I know it's one that I personally strive to get better at each and every day. Chris, tell us about what you do and some of the work that you travel the world talking about time management with people. Tell us about your business.
I started out as an engineer and then I sort of went into management. So I used to run factories for a living. And I was always fascinated by time, by the fact that I never had enough of it, could never, do the things I wanted to do and fit everything in. And I found that the faster I ran in my hamster wheel, the more stressed I got, but I still didn't really get to achieve anymore. I've always been interested in it. And eventually I escaped out of running factories and worked as a university lecturer for a bit, which was a really fun but badly paid job. And then I went self-employed. So for the last 25 years, I've been driving around the country and also flying around the world talking about management, training people in different management things, mostly project management and time management.
Okay.
And so now I get to teach other people about time management. I don't feel I've got it 100% worked out, actually, because it's such a difficult subject. Time management gets into every part of your life. So project management, you do some diagrams and they work. But time management is fascinating because it's about your personality and your habits. And, farmers are going to have different time management issues to other people. And some of your time is not under your control anyway. When a hurricane comes through your farm or something, you don't really have... And even somebody who works in an office, they've got a boss and customers. So time management is a sort of battle between you and the world. And it's just a really interesting subject. So I usually have a day to talk about time management in front of about 20 people. But sometimes I do a 1 hour talk to 500 people.
Yeah.
And I think we've got 15 minutes on this show, haven't we? To talk about
we can take as long as we want. But so how many people, from your experience, what percentage of the workforce is actually really good at time management?
Almost zero, I think. I mean,
okay, good. We're all in good company then.
Yeah, I think if you define being good at time management as being on time, turning up on time, delivering work on time, then it's probably 20% of people. So I always call customers back pretty much straight away when there's a message when there's an email or a phone call, and they always go, "Thanks for phoning me back so promptly." And they obviously think that's unusual that I get back to customers who are people who want to give me money. I mean, why would I not? So I think probably only maybe 20%. But if you've got any imagination, you'll have loads of things you want to do, and if you've got any imagination, you won't have enough time in your life to do everything. So I think everybody would like to do more. I would, certainly. And And so although I would claim to be organized and reasonably on top of things, I really would like more time, and I'd like to be more efficient. And every year I start a new thing and I'm cramming in. At the moment, I'm teaching other people how to be trainers. I'm writing a book on project management. I'm playing in 2 bands. I played a saxophone badly and things. And I'm doing all this stuff and going on holiday quite a lot, even despite COVID, to fill in forms. And so, but there's still more I'd like to do. I haven't done much reading recently, for example. I've not done as much exercise as I would like to. I haven't seen my wife as often as I would like to. So, and my kids, I'd like to spend more time with them. So I've got a ton of stuff I want to do. Yeah. And I think I'm quite good at prioritizing which ones to spend more and less time on. But I would like more time for all of those things. And how do you do that? I mean, I've got some answers, but it's not. Yeah. You're never going to solve it completely.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the relationship to a person's creativity. I've never thought of it that way. Whenever I think of time management, I think of the other side, which is, man, I lack discipline. I got to be more disciplined. I've never thought of it in relationship to creativity. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think there's 2 halves to it, actually, because I think the objective of time management is to spend more time on important things. Okay, whatever is important to you. So let's suppose, walking my dog is important to me, then I want to spend more time doing that. And you don't care about my dog and you might hate going for hikes. But so first of all, we decide what's important. Is music important? Is football? That's the first thing to decide. And the objective is to maximize your time on important things. And that's like the positive aspect of time management. But the second half is, how are you going to do that? And the only way you can get more time for important things is to spend less time on unimportant things. So that's like saying no and doing things less well and delegating and all these techniques, which we'll probably come to in a minute. And so the why of time management is spend time on important stuff. But the how of time management is mostly quite negative. It's mostly discipline and saying no to things and squeezing down all the stuff you don't want to do. Because probably 80% of your day is stuff you don't really want to do. And 20% is what you want to do. Maybe it's 80-20, it might be 90-10. But suppose it's 80-20. If you can get the 80 down to, say, 60, then you've doubled the amount of time on the important stuff. So the how of time management is reducing. And I used to worry that time management was a bit of a negative subject. But it's only, the how is a bit negative, but the why is positive, because we want to get that 20 up to 40. We want to spend twice as much time doing the things that we want to do, whatever they may be, we choose.
So in relationship to time management on the farm for our audience, I know you came up with 6 techniques or 6 ideas for people to consider. So let's kind of work our way through those and continue the discussion.
Yeah, these 6 things will take us into all the areas of time management pretty much. Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking about a lot of stuff that I teach normally is not going to apply to somebody who's running a farm. So, stick to working 9 to 5. You're not going to do that, are you? But in an office, you don't want to be working evenings every day because, that's taking away your real life. But I know that on a farm at certain times of year, I mean, you just have to deal with whatever. And another thing that wouldn't apply is that in most areas of life, you don't want to be reactive. Actually, this kind of semi-applies, but you don't want to be reactive, because if other people are controlling your time, you've lost, really. You want to be deciding what you spend your time on. And in most jobs, you have to spend a certain amount of time reacting because you've got customers and a boss and things happen. But I suspect that on a farm, you're having to be reactive a lot. You've got animals who are sick or problems with crops, the weather, all the stuff that happens. And so I think you have to be pretty reactive, I would guess, as a farmer. But I think if you can get your 5% in control, proactive, ahead of the game type time, if that 5 could be 10, you've doubled the amount that you're going to be getting ahead of the game. So it's still, I think that's still part of the game. But anyway, I think time management is particularly difficult for farmers. And I get that. But so my first of my 6 things that I think probably do apply to farmers is thing down. So my first rule of time management is write everything down. Don't store stuff in your head. if you think, oh, I need to organize the maintenance on that combine harvester or something, don't just think, I'll remember that. Write it on a piece of paper, write it down somewhere, on your hand, whatever. If you keep it in your head, then that's adding stress. You know, before long, you've got 3, 4, 5 things in your head, and it's stressful. And you're going to forget one of them. And if you forget to maintain your combine harvester or whatever, that's going to be bad. But also, going back oddly to creativity, if you've got half-finished things in your head, it's very difficult to be creative. Whereas if you just write all this stuff down on a list of horrible stuff to do, then you're free to think about big things like, you know, do I want to have sheep on my farm next year? Or, you know, do I want to buy the neighbor's farm? Or do I even want to be a farmer next year? And all that stuff that you know, you want to have some headroom in your mind to be able to think about big, important stuff.
It's like a computer, right? When your computer gets kind of full, right, it starts to run slowly, and you need to free up some space so it can run at full capacity.
Yeah, and when you write stuff down, it's like bunging it onto a hard drive somewhere, an external hard drive, and then you don't have to worry about it. And then later on, you can prioritize and decide which, you know, maybe there's too much on there and you have to decide you're not going to do some things, but at least you've got a list that you can look at. It's the raw material for all of your planning. So write everything down. I tend to have a jobs to do list every day. And then I have what I call my master list, which is things that are too big just to put on my jobs to do list. So, you know, buy neighbor's farm would go on my master list. I'm going to do that time. I don't know when, you know, but it's there and I'm not going to forget it because it's on my master list. And the master list, it could be on a whiteboard on the wall. It could be on a big piece of paper on the wall. It could be in an app, or it doesn't matter. As long as you've got it somewhere that you know nothing's going to be forgotten. And that is the raw material for your planning. And then a daily list just reminds you of stuff you have to do today. And I would recommend both of those. And if it's time dependent, so if you're thinking, you know, we've got to dig that field in September because we're going to be planting in October or whatever, then I would have that in my diary. So my third document would be some sort of calendar or diary. And I know that, you know, farmers keep a lot of this in their head, but I want to be able to look at next April and think, you know, I'm planting this, I'm harvesting this, I'm doing this, you know, and the combine has to be hired, and all that stuff just needs to be written in my diary so that I don't need to think about it. Just don't store stuff in your head. That's just a stressful, crazy way to live. So that's the first thing I would say. And I think that applies to farmers absolutely the same as everyone else. And I know you might not be walking around the fields with a piece of paper, but I think maybe you should just have a bit of paper in your pocket and a pen, or, you know, some way to record stuff always in the cab of your tractor. Just have a little pad where you can just write stuff down when you remember, I need to get some chocolates for my wife, you know, for the anniversary. Just write on a pad.
Don't forget those.
Because you don't want to be thinking about that when you're trying to hook up your trailer or whatever, do you? You know. Yeah. So I don't know if these are relevant examples.
Absolutely.
I've been watching. We've had this program called Clarkson's Farm in England.
Yes.
Jeremy Clarkson, and that's been really big. Everyone's been watching that, including me. And it's been. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been an amazing window into how tough it is to be a farmer. Really, really interesting, actually. And obviously, you know, some of it he's joking around, but a lot of it he seems to be pretty serious about.
Pretty real.
Yeah, it's pretty real.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my first one. Write everything down.
It's a good one.
My second one is to have systems for stuff, and this could be an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, I don't know about farmers, but I sometimes meet people who say, "Oh no, I don't understand Excel. I've never used Excel." And you know, Excel is the most fantastic thing. So if you've never used Excel, you absolutely must. But if you're going, yeah, of course I know about Excel, then I think the next step is just to really think about your systems. There are lots of apps for all kinds of things, aren't there? But any repeating task should have a system. So anything that you regularly do, you know, so if you find that, you know, the big container of grain always seems to be behind the container of fertilizer, and you have to move the fertilizer out the way to get to the grain. You know, each time you do that, you should think, I need a better system for this. Because if you can save 1 hour a week by out in your warehouse, let's say, 1 hour a week is That's 52 hours a year. So that's like a whole working week. Imagine if you had a whole extra week to do whatever you like. It's a lot of time. And you get that from saving 1 hour a week just because you've got a better layout of stuff. And so if you can't find the phone number of the maintenance guy, or every time you reorder things, you can't find it, or, everything you do that repeats should have a super smooth system. I mean, for me, it's things like replacement toner cartridges for my printer. So I've got the number on the little shelf where I store them, and I've got one of each color. And when I use it, I reorder immediately, and it's always just there. Because I know people who are always going, oh no, I've run out of red toner, and I can't remember where I got the last one from, and I've thrown away the packaging. And so, and anything that is annoying and repeats, you should have a system. I've got this from when I used to run factories, because factories are very good at having systems. And I suspect farms are pretty good at systems. But, you should always be just trying to think, can I improve my systems? And computers and phone apps have made everything better. So, for example, I use Evernote, and I record everything in Evernote. The phone number of the guy, the food I liked, which restaurant, everything. What size shirt I wear, because then when I reorder another one, I know it's whatever. So just put everything into Evernote. If you're trying different types of seeds, make a note of what they all are. If one grows better than another, just everything, just record it all somewhere. And if you don't have a definite spreadsheet for it, stick it into Evernote. So I think systems thinking is really important for everybody. And some people naturally are like that, and other people are just completely allergic to systems. I'm an artist. Oh, I know. The foundation of creativity is to have systems underneath. So, if you're a potter, you have a system where your clay is always exactly the right moisture and all that, and you just make sure you always have it soaking for the right amount of water, whatever I don't know what they do. But then when you do your pottery, the clay is spot on and you can produce something beautiful. But there's always a system underneath everything, isn't there?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the second thing I would say is part of time management is systems. The third one, I don't know how farmers will feel about this, but I think is to have goals and not just run in a hamster wheel. So I think a lot of people in their lives just go to work and do what their boss tells them. And they just sort of accept that that's their life. At the weekend, they, have to go food shopping and have to repair their roof or whatever it is. And they just go through life reacting. And I was lucky enough to discover quite early on that if you think about what your goals are longer term, between maybe 2 years and 20 years ahead, you can then think about that. And if you have clear goals, particularly if you write them down, you're much more likely to achieve them. And this is because your subconscious mind will start working on how to do it. So if you have a goal to have 1,000 sheep, or have a goal to have no sheep on your farm, or whatever it might be, or a Lamborghini tractor, heaven forbid, then you're much more likely to achieve it once you've set that goal. And I think farmers might well not ever have a time to come up for air and think about goals, because it's just the seasons go round, don't they? Every year, got to plant it, you got to grow it, you got to harvest it, you got to plant it again, and they go round and round in this hamster wheel, really. And most of us, our hamster wheel is like a week. Monday is back to work, and Friday we party, and then Monday's back to work, and Friday. Whereas farmers might have perhaps a hamster wheel, but it's still a hamster wheel. And I think the key is to get out of the hamster wheel occasionally and just think about, what do I want my life to look like, and have that as a goal. And even if you don't know how you're going to do it, just think, I'm going to find a way, but this is what I want to do. Maybe you have a goal that you can delegate most of the work, and you haven't got to get up early and milk those cows because you're going to have somebody who does that for you. Maybe that's a goal. I don't know. But just thinking about what the longer term picture is. And that's an important bit of time management that people don't think about. They often just think time management is about reacting quicker and, having a tidy desk, but it's not. It's about having big goals of where your life wants to take you.
We'll get back to the rest of the Mind Your Farm Business podcast, but first a word from our sponsor, RBC Royal Bank. This episode of the Mind Your Farm Business podcast is brought to you by RBC. When it comes to your operation, a business plan can help you reach your goals. It's your roadmap to success. Be equipped to face the challenges of modern-day farming head on and come out on top. Visit rbc.com/chartyourcourse and speak with an agriculture account manager near you. Those goals work their way down to what the day looks like or the week looks like, right? Like it all sort of interconnects and relates to each other.
Well, if you're really organized, you'll break your goals down into a plan of what you're going to do. To be honest, a lot of the goals I've had, I never really had a plan. I just thought this is something I want to do. And then apparently by chance it happened. But of course it didn't really, because you're just a bit more alert to you're talking to people and they mention something and you think, oh, tell me more about that. Because, it's kind of one of your goals to go in that direction. And so, or you notice something that's on the radio, or, you make little decisions, and having goals makes you a bit more disciplined about what you do as well, because you've got a reason to be disciplined. It helps you say no to things that are not one of your goals. And so goals affect your behavior in all kinds of subtle ways. So absolutely your goal should not just be to be the same as last year, unless you love it. I mean, if you love it and you never want to change a thing, then that's fine too, but if there's any part of your life you're not happy with, have a goal to change it. And that will slowly start to happen, even if you don't really take any conscious action.
Interesting.
So I think goals are huge. And a lot of people I talk to on podcasts like you, people who run podcasts, Shaun, they always go, oh, yeah, I've got my goals sorted. And I mean, I bet you must have had a goal to have this podcast, and you've probably got goals for the podcast to reach a certain size or whatever,
Absolutely.
To get the president on your podcast or something like that. You've probably got, I don't know. But where are you on your goals journey? Are you pretty up with it? You got real clear ones written out, big hairy ones, or really?
I think so. I'm so far I'm doing quite well as I'm writing down the list that you've been running through. I do write everything down. Now, do I lose those pieces of paper from time to time? Yes, but I'm constantly taking notes and writing things down, because if I don't, I totally forget. There's too much going on in the day. And you just and you come back to something 2 weeks later with maybe a customer or maybe somebody you're trying to do some business with, and it's like, oh, what the heck did we talk about? If you don't write it down, too much transpires, and you always think to yourself, I'm going to remember this,
and you never do.
You never do.
I've got quite a bad memory, and that's helped me, because I've had to write everything down. I think if you've got a good memory, it's quite dangerous, because you start thinking, I can do this, I can have it all in my head.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
I think you're good on systems, by the way. I mean, when we were booking this, you emailed me and I booked a slot in your calendar, and I just got a reply, and here we are. And so, you've got a nice smooth system for that. So that's a good sign. I don't know about your other system.
Yeah, there is some chaos going on too. So, but that's good.
Well, but if you're growing and bringing new things in, there's always, you get last year's stuff organized, but on top of that, there's always a new thing that's more difficult. But at least you haven't got everything disorganized. Yeah. You keep building on that, don't you? So anyway, that was goals. I've got 3 more things if we've got time.
Yeah, let's get
my
through
next
them,
thing. It sort of follows on really, which is to focus on value added and not being a busy fool. And I think, it's easy if you're self-employed, and I'm self-employed, and farmers are really, aren't they? It's really easy to just think, I'll go faster, I'll work harder, and not spend time on the things that really matter.
Yeah. And
one of the things I remember on the Clarkson thing was he worked out the sums afterwards, and he found he'd made no money at all on his, I think it was the sheep. And some of the crops made quite a lot of money, and some of the crops made very little money. And I'm thinking, get the facts for what makes money and focus on where the value is. And it's not only about money. I mean, you may enjoy keeping a particular type of animal or whatever. That may be what you want to do. So it might add value in terms of making you happy. But I think it's really important to focus on what adds the value in your life and get rid of everything else. Squeeze it down smaller, preferably right down to 0. So if there's something that you don't enjoy and it doesn't make you any money, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, I think a lot of farmers fall into this one because there's that natural tendency to we're just going to work harder. We're going to push through. We're going to will this to happen.
Yeah, and you got to work smarter rather than harder. And it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it starts with facts, doesn't it? It starts with measuring what's profitable and what isn't. And sometimes you can really surprise yourself. I mean, I look back over the statistics and, which subjects have I done most and which customers have been most profitable. I think, really? Have I done that much of this? And really, didn't I make any money on that? And you got to get the hard facts and measure it. And it may surprise you. So I think measurement and facts and then focusing on the value add is, that's really, because that tells you what's important and what isn't. And, the definition of time management, spend more time on important stuff. So I think I was thinking that would really apply to farmers.
Absolutely.
And obviously you want to spread yourself over a few different product areas. If you put everything into one thing, let's say, beef or milk or something, there is a risk that will have a bad year and you could be really stuffed. So you do perhaps want to be spread over a few things, but you don't want to be spread over a whole load of unprofitable things. So 2 more things. Yep. There's a thing called box 1, the 4 boxes. And it's a very famous model. They've got these 4 quadrants of important and urgent. So things can be urgent but not important, just hassle. Yeah. And then, there's a hole in the fence and the animals might escape. So it's, it's urgent to fix it. It's not what life's about. And you may say, no, it's really important. The animals might escape. And I'm going, no, that's what makes it urgent. You have to fix it before the animals escape. But it's not important because it's just a maintenance task. It's not adding value. It's not what you want to be spending your life doing. So fixing a fence would be actually a box 2, urgent but not important. Okay. And then you can have things that are important but not urgent, like planning your 5-year strategy or something. And you can leave it till next week. It's not urgent, but it is important. And that's really the key to time management. But the one I wanted to mention was box 1, which is important and urgent. And in a normal job, and I hope you don't mind me saying farming, I think isn't a normal job. It's a special, it's a really important job, of course. But, in an ordinary job, let's call it, you don't want to be in box 1 very much. If I'm in box 1, I've failed. If I'm in box 1, it means that somebody's phoning me up saying, we're all here waiting for you to do a talk at a conference. Where are you? And I'm like, in the wrong country. That's box 1. Or turning up to a conference and go, right, time management. And they go, no, you're meant to be talking about project management. And I've got the wrong slide deck, or turning up and realizing I've forgotten my suit trousers. I'm just in shorts and I've got to go onto stage in 2 hours time. That's box 1. If I'm in box 1, I've screwed up. But I think, box 1 can be what you might call an act of God. So, box 1 is there's a massive tornado coming and all your animals are out in the field or something like that, or one of your animals has got some horrible illness like tuberculosis or something, and you're thinking, oh my God, maybe they've all got it. And so I think on a farm, you quite often are just given box 1 by nature. And the key with box 1 is to fix it. Of course, you have to fix it, but also fix the root cause of why did it happen. So, if one of your animals gets sick, you have to get the vet in and get it sorted. But why did the animal get sick? Or if water comes in through the roof and, gets into all your seeds or whatever, then you have to sort that. But why did that happen? Did you not have a regular roof checking program? And, maybe you need to check that. Or, if your fence does break and a load of cows escape, fix the fence, but also think, why did that happen? Do I need to have a regular fence maintenance? Do I need to spend more money on my fence? Maybe. Do I need to, who checks the fence and how often? And so the key, whenever you get a crisis, of course, deal with it, but also put a little bit of time aside to fix the root cause so it never happens again. You should never have a crisis happening a second time. If you find yourself thinking, that's the 5th time the animals have escaped, then you've got to ask yourself, I need to spend a bit of time getting to the bottom of this. So that's my second last time management point. And I think a lot of people have the same thing. I know people whose car never starts, yet again, sorry, Chris, I didn't make it. The car wouldn't start again. And I'm thinking, you have to fix that. Just buy a new battery. It's going to cost $100, but just do that. Your life's too short to have a car that doesn't start, Yeah. So you can't have anything unreliable, and you can't have a crisis that happens more than once. That's just so get to the root cause and fix it, I would say. And I think it's really easy just to lurch from one crisis and you think, it's never going to happen again. But it will if you don't get to the root cause and fix it. So I had that. And shall I move on to my final one?
What is the last one?
Yeah, well, the last one is quite different to these others, really, which is delegate more. My biggest regret when I was in charge of people in a factory was I didn't delegate enough. And I'm thinking a lot of farmers are not on their own, are they? I mean, they have people who work on the farm.
Yeah, a lot of farms do.
And and it could be family, it could be people who they pay, but whoever. And I think if you can delegate 1 more hour a week of something you do, give it to somebody else, just checking the pressure on the milking machine or whatever it is, I don't know. If you could delegate something that, and obviously, see, I've delegated my backyard to my wife, right? She can do what she likes, plant things, do what she likes. But that's because I don't care about my backyard. Yeah. So that's not very big of me, is it? But delegating something important, like, making the thumbnails for YouTube videos. Oh, no, I got to do that. And I find it hard to delegate stuff because I'm a control freak and I want it to be done right and things. But I bet that everyone listening to this could delegate a little bit more than they do. Just give it to somebody who works for you. You can still monitor. You can still give it to them and then check that they're doing it right. And if they are, then after a while, you don't even have to check. Yeah. So it's not as risky as you think, but delegate more. And that means, you have to trust them initially, but does it really mean trust? Because you can monitor. You can check on what they're doing. So everything that you're doing yourself, with your hands, using your time, you should be thinking, is this a waste of me? Could I delegate this to somebody? And if you can't, by the way, that means that your people aren't really good enough. You should employ somebody better or train them more, because you should really be able to. And if you've got your kids on the farm, I can really relate to that because, my kids are now 29 and 31, and I still think that they're totally incompetent at everything. I just think, I need to tell them how to drive from, Southampton to London, because surely they're not going to know the best way. And I have to tell them, when you're booking a hotel, make sure you get. But of course, they know all this. And I just can't believe how much they already know, because you tend to think, particularly with your kids, you think, I'm going to have to do this. I can't trust them to do that. And actually, they're brilliant. The last holiday I went on with my daughter, my wife and my daughter planned the whole thing. And she had it all laid out. We're going to do this, do that. And it was brilliant. It was far better than I would ever have done. Planning this trip to Sri Lanka, it was brilliant. And so I think, particularly if you've got your kids working with you, you might find it hard to delegate. Yeah. But whoever you work with, just give them a bit more than they would normally. If they're at 6 out of 10 on the sort of skillometer, give them a 7 and just don't give them a 9 yet, but just give them a 7 and see how they get on. And if they do a good job on the 7, give them an 8. Just keep giving them bigger and bigger, harder and harder things to do. And freeing up your own time. And so
that one connects, Chris, that one connects very, very well, though, to what to what you said earlier in terms of maximizing your time on important things, right?
Yes.
That's the track to get towards that, is being better at delegating things that aren't important or depending on where you fit in those boxes. That really
absolutely
connects.
The unimportant stuff you should definitely delegate, and then you can start eventually to even delegate important stuff. But most of life is actually not that important. That example of fixing the fence has to be done. It's urgent. If you don't do it, animals will escape. But you just want it done in the minimum time. If you could delegate it, would you? And the answer is yeah. If you could press a magic button, then it would happen. If you would press that button, that means you should delegate it, because delegating is kind of like a magic button. It'll just be done for you. And why would you not? The only trouble with delegating, it costs a little bit of money, because people's time does have a cost. So I've recently got myself a a PA who does sort of invoicing and books hotels and stuff for me, and I have to pay her. And suppose it costs, $20 of my money to pay her for the time it takes to book a hotel, right? Part of me thinks I could save $20 and do it myself, right? But if suppose it takes an hour, I don't know, to go through all the hotels and find a good one and book it. The question is an hour of my time worth $20? Because, I really want the $20, but then an hour of my time, I could do something really big. I could sell a talk to somebody in America for thousands of dollars or whatever. So what am I doing? Wasting my time booking a hotel? And I was thinking about this, and I hope I can get this right. I think there's kind of 3 levels. So the first level is where she actually does it quicker than me and cheaper than me. If my hourly rate's $100 an hour and hers is 20, it's a complete no-brainer for her to do it. She's cheaper and quicker. Okay. The second level of delegating is where she's actually slower than me. It would take her 2 hours and I could do it in 1 hour, but 2 hours of her time is only $40 and I'm $100. So, that's still worth it. Right. But what if it was going to cost her, suppose it was going to take her, 10 hours to book a hotel and I could do it in 1 hour. Now it's costing $200 to pay her and I could do it for $100. But you could argue even then I should delegate it, because I know it's costing me $200 to get an hour of my time, but maybe my time really is worth $200. I mean, if I was going to die tomorrow, my time would be worth $200, wouldn't it? And more than that. And what if I've only got a year left to live, which who knows? You just don't know what's going to happen. Could be a big combine harvester accident next year. And so, I'm 60 something now. So, I might only have another 15 years and that's only like 150 months. And that's not enough. That's only 600 weekends. So, if I have to pay a few $100s to somebody to delegate stuff and I get a weekend off, I think a weekend is worth $200, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 20 quid well spent.
Yeah. So it seems to me that usually when you delegate, you actually save money. Even if they're a bit slower than you save money because they are cheaper than you. But even if it costs you more, you've got some of your life back, and you can't put a price on that really. So, it seems to me that delegating is always a good idea. And even if you delegate and it takes a bit longer because you have to explain it to the person and then they don't do a very good job and you have to correct a few bits afterwards, still worth it because they're learning. And next time you give it to them, they'll be better at it. And the third or fourth time, they'll just nail it. They might even do it better than you. So delegating is a bit of a road to go down, but I think it's really important. And I think it's a key part of time management for everybody. But I think particularly if you're self-employed and you're employing other people, like a farmer. So delegating is my final point.
Chris, putting all that together, one of the questions I was thinking about was a person's calendar and how you manage that. So, there's people I've booked for interviews where it's like, you need 10 minutes. Okay, well, I have a free space 3 months from now. And it's like, you don't have 10 minutes at any time the next 3. That seems impossible and ridiculous to me. Yeah. So everybody does it differently. I think, when you talk about goals, I'll put blocks in my calendar where I aspire to work on something and try to be as disciplined as I possibly can. And I'm always constantly moving things around. Okay, well, if I didn't do this here, maybe I can do it tomorrow in the afternoon. How do you recommend somebody manages their calendar when they look at the week or the month?
Well, the first thing I would say is block a little bit of time out for yourself. So just put a little bit of thinking time. Might be Friday afternoon, or it might be 1 hour a day, mid-morning, or depends on what your schedule's like. But actually block out some time just for yourself, an appointment with yourself. And you can always cancel it if something incredibly vital comes up, but try to keep it. And if you put an hour a day aside, that's say 200 working days a year. I mean, I know farmers work 7 days a week, but people like me work 5 days a week. 200 days a year, that's 200 hours. That's several weeks of time you can get. So that's the first thing I would say is block a bit of time out in your diary. But the other thing I would say is Never fill your diary up completely full, like that guy you just described brilliantly. So what you should do is when you get down to your last, say, 2 hours in your diary, I don't know how much this applies to farmers because I don't know how much they put in their diary, but if you're using your diary quite a lot and you're not, out in the fields, but you're in the office quite a lot and having meetings with suppliers and customers, which you might be, just don't fill your diary up completely, because we know that every day you have a few hours of stuff that crops up, emergent tasks, you could call it. So we need to leave 2 or 3 hours every day for stuff that's going to crop up. So if your diary is completely full, when that stuff crops up, what are you going to do? And you have to cancel things and work really late, and it's just bad. So the game is to keep space free in your diary. So if I was to look at your diary for tomorrow, ideally you'd have several hours just empty because your stuff's going to crop up. Okay. So then what happens when I say, hey, Shaun, can we book in a chat for an hour? You must say no. You must say, no, Chris, I have no time left tomorrow, I'm afraid. But are you lying when you look at that empty bit in your diary and you're telling me you've got no time? The answer is no, you're not lying. It feels like you are, but you're not, because you're going to need that time. That time is already gone. Something's going to happen. That fence is going to break and animals are going to escape or whatever it is. And so the game is to start saying no before your diary is full, and just say, I can't do it today. Or suppose they say, have you got any time on Monday? And you look at your diary on Monday and it's only got 1 hour left. You just say, I've got no time left on Monday. How about Tuesday? And you just move it out a day. And most people don't care whether it's Monday or Tuesday. I mean, this recording we're doing now, it could have been next week, couldn't it? It doesn't really matter when we do it. So most people are fine. Just push them out into the future a little bit more and keep that space. Now, if they have to do it on Monday, then okay, put it in there, because that's what that space is for. That space is for the things that can't wait. If they can wait, make them wait. That's the rule. And we're not doing that just out of sort of bloody mindedness. If they can wait, make them wait, because you have to keep that space for those emergent tasks. And that's quite an odd idea. I've told a few people about this and they've said it's changed their lives, because then when you get to Monday, you've got 3 hours spare. When things crop up, you just do them. Nothing has to be moved in your diary. Nothing's ever cancelled or postponed. It's brilliant. The worst that'll happen is nothing will crop up on Monday, and you'll be able to put your feet up in the sunshine and read a book. Don't worry, that's never going to happen. Yeah. Or but you can spend a bit of time planning and thinking and improving stuff, can't you? And and coaching members of your team so that you can delegate more to them and things. So there's loads you can do if, heaven forbid, you get 3 hours when nothing happens. But 9 times out of 10, you need that time. So the guy whose diary is already full has already lost the game, I would say.
Chris, this has been fantastic. I really do appreciate you discussing this very, very important topic with us, with some great context around what farmers and ranchers are dealing with. So thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I actually love this topic of time management. It feels like a lifelong journey of figuring out what works best for any of us personally. Chris Croft has some great learnings and considerations today on the Mind Your Farm Business podcast. As Chris says on his website, get control of your day and your life. Learn the difference between urgent and important, and that clear objectives lead to clear priorities. Take ownership of your calendar and your time. It doesn't just happen. It requires you taking action. I would love to know some of your techniques on time management. How do you approach this topic on your farm? I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. If you have any feedback or comments, please email me at shaney@realagriculture.com or call the Real Ag listener line at 855-776-6147. You can find more episodes of the Mind Your Farm Business podcast at mindyourfarmbusiness.com. Thanks to RBC Royal Bank. And until next time, keep on minding your farm business.